Thank you very much for joining us on PM Express. Tonight I'm having a conversation about the new Patriotic Party and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. After he won the party's flag bearership race, many were looking to see what his next move will be. Well, he's played his hand now. He's decided to do something that the party hasn't done for a long time. Some even have argued that the approach he's taking now is quite unprecedented in the way he's done it, in the formation of these policy committees with more than 2 years to go before the elections. And it's a very, very comprehensive list of committees, and the names he's drawn to fill up those slots are very deep and interesting. I have a man with me who is heading one of the committees, the Communications Committee, and of course the committees that have raised a lot of eyebrows is the committees headed and chaired by Bawumia's contenders in the primaries that obviously saw him winning it. He's brought all of them back into the fold and asked them to chair some of these committees. And this is obviously part of his agenda to unite the party. He's also been touring the country and meeting various individuals, stalwarts of the party who may have fallen out with the party. There's a lot on his plate. And the man with me tonight has the difficult task of helping all of us appreciate the strategy, the plan, but also get the message behind this move towards 2028. He's Nana Akomea, no stranger to talking to the media, and certainly no stranger to talking to PM Express. Nana Akomea, thank you very much for your time here on PM Express.
It's my pleasure.
And good to have you. So let's start with the
I haven't seen you in a while.
It's been a while.
It's good to see you looking so well.
You're looking well too.
Thank you.
Anytime I see you,
I
you're aging.
I have always looked well.
With youth.
I have always looked well.
Yes. And we've not spoken to you in a while, I guess, and correct me if I'm wrong, is because the party was still in this reorganizing phase. You didn't know where you're going to be, whether they're going to maintain your communications or whether they're going to move you elsewhere. But it's been confirmed now. You are now officially the communications person, focal person for Bawumia in the campaign in the lead up to the 2028 election, which is still 2.5 years away, by the way. What went into the decision to put together these committees? You're so miles away from the elections, 2.5 years plus. Why now? Isn't it too early?
Well, thank you, Evans, and let me wish our audience a good evening. Yes, the party has put into place various committees, and you wonder if it's too early. Well, you know, the party took the decision to have the flag bearer elections 3 years before the general elections. The same sentiments came up. It's too early. Let's wait a while, let's finish with this and that before. But the party took the decision that where we are, we need all the time we can get, and the focus that we need will be better served by having a flag bearer in place early enough and not wait for 2 years before the general election. So these same sentiments came up. It's too early, wait and have the other elections before. But the prevailing decision was that have the flag bearer elections early. You know, it usually comes with all kinds of acrimony. So get that out of the way and let some peace and quiet come from that. And then you can then have a center that can allow you to proceed. Now, having had the flag bearer 3 years before the election, you need to put in place the material that will guide the campaign so that the flag bearer, in terms of policy, is not going to be moving from ad hoc sentiment to sentiment. That the flag bearer in the party will be guided by agreed sets of policies that can allow various stakeholders to articulate the party's positions. So there are two groups of committees that have been put in place last week, Thursday. The first group is the standing committees. The standing committees are basically committees that advise the National Council of the party. And so they are at the behest of the National Council of the party. So my committee, for example, is a standing committee. So we would advise the National Council, or the National Council will hold us accountable for the nature of communications in the party. There are going to be functional officers which would come. There's going to be election for a communications director later on in the year.
As part of the grassroots reorganization and the election of the various executives across the various branches of the party.
There is also going to be elected a communications director who will be in terms of the day-to-day work in communications, will be in charge. But this person would answer to the communications committee, or would answer through the communications committee to the National Council of the party. Same with the other committees, organizational committee. There's going to be an election for a national organizer, a national women's organizer, national youth organizer. They are going to be the field managers, but they would answer to the National Council through the organization committee. And the research committee, the finance committee, all of them. So these are committees of the National Council who advise so the National Council, for example, will not call directly the communications director. They will call the chairman of the communications committee.
But why, that is not an elected position you're holding. Why is an elected person answering to the council through you?
So what will happen is that the elected person will be part of your committee. Of the committee. So,
but he's elected. He has the mandate of the people. You don't necessarily.
You being elected doesn't mean you are not accountable. Are you going to be working to yourself?
But ordinarily, from your constitution, he would have been answerable to the council.
Yeah.
But why then do you create this intermediary?
So that's provided for by the constitution. Okay. I mean, an elected officer is not a law unto himself or herself, is there? In fact, the National Women Organizer, the Nasara Organizer, the youth organizers, they've been elected, but they are accountable to the national organizer. So it's meant to provide a certain coordination, and to make that work smoother. These officers will become automatic members of the parent committee. So these two sets of committees, the first set is the standing committees who are answerable to the National Council. And there's going to be, it includes the organization committee, finance committee, communications committee, and so on. Later on, there will be functional officers elected who will be part of these committees, and together they will be answerable to the National Council. Then there's a second set of committees, which we call the sector committees, also provided for by the NPP Constitution. The sector committees, as the name suggests, will basically be responsible for formulating policy guidelines. So what should be the party's policy on transportation, on intercity transport, on intracity transport, on road, rail transport, water transport, air transport? What should be the alternative policy? Because the NPP, as a serious political party, must present alternatives to the Ghanaian people. And so these sector committees will primarily be responsible for policy guidelines, for the flag bearer, for the communication team, for every member of the party. That is why they are called sector committees. Now, in Parliament, we also have sector committees, and a lot of NPP members of Parliament are members of the sector committees. And once they are members of the sector committee, the senior NPP member on the parliamentary committee, say on transport, is called the ranking member. The ranking member is the senior NPP member on the specific committee of parliament, say transport, say finance, say agriculture. And he has a deputy. Now, to create the necessary synergy between parliament and the party, for the sector committees, you have co-chairs. So the ranking member of that particular committee is a co-chairman, and then there's somebody else with expertise from outside. So all the sector committees have co-chairmen but they basically would be primarily in charge of agreeing on policy of the party, because it's policy that we must sell to the Ghanaian people. So, and these committees are provided for by the Constitution.
So this, in effect, is the campaign for 2028 beginning in the next.
If the policy committee's work would feed into the NPP manifesto
for 2028.
For 2020,
you're beginning very early.
So,
extremely. But you normally, approaching the elections, you set up your manifesto committees.
No.
Would that still be there? No, that's what we'll be used to.
These committees, basically, their work will feed into the manifesto committee.
So you don't anticipate that this time you set up those manifesto committees?
You know, when they've drafted policy, it goes through a buy-in process. So the policy, there would be a manifesto committee that will look at the work of all these 9 or 10 committees: transport, agriculture, health, all of that. There will be a committee that will look at the recommendations, and then eventually will go to the steering committee, and then it will go to the National Council. When the National Council gives the stamp of approval, then they form part of the manifesto. So these committees primarily are going to provide the policy alternatives, and then the policy alternatives will go through a certain filter process, and eventually will then become the manifesto of the NPP. And we're hoping that by the end of the year, this committee should finish their work, and it should go through the filtering process through a body, we may call it the manifesto team, that will look at all the recommendations, put them together. It will go through the steering committee and the National Council for approval. Then they become part of the NPP. So if we're able to do all of this by the end of the year, then going into 2027, the NPP has the flag bearer, it has all the functional executives from polling station to national, and then it has its manifesto.
Wow, that would have been a record in terms of time left before an election.
Yes.
Because normally the manifestos are done in the year of the elections, sometimes just a few months to the election.
Normally the flag bearer is selected a year to the elections. We're doing things differently, because we know the odds that we are facing, and we have to do things differently. The mere fact that we brought the flag bearer elections forward should signal to everybody that the NPP is on a new course.
But there is, to everything you do in politics, you have to also look at the positives and the potential cons. The pros are there, which you've articulated. What about the cons, which is that you are going to tell your opponents, play your hand very early. They know what your trump cards are, and they can effectively counter that. Isn't that the downside to this approach?
Well, for a government in office, your counter is the implementation of policies that would affect the Ghanaian positively. That is your response. You don't need to be looking at the opposition's manifesto. You have made promises to the Ghanaian people, and you have to deliver on those promises, whether the opposition has a manifesto or not. So I don't see how that will bother the NDC much. If they don't deliver, they may come up with comments and disclaimers on our policy, But that's not what a Ghanaian is going to buy. You are in office. You came with your own set of policies that you promised the Ghanaian. And those are the things that you must deliver on. Now, when you are not delivering, what's the alternative? And the alternative is what these policy committees will come up with and present to the Ghanaian people and ask them to make a choice.
You've done something, when I say you, Bawumia, obviously, you've done something with the other aspirants who challenged him for the privilege of leading the party into the 2020 elections. He's brought all of them back into the fold and given them responsibilities to head some of the policy committees. So, Kennedy Dupont is co-chair of the Employment and Jobs Policy Committee. We have Brian Champon, co-chair Defense and Interior, because obviously he was defense. He played a very significant role in your security architecture back when he were in government. Yause Duchum, co-chair Education Policy Committee. You have Kwabena Dupont, co-chair Housing and Urban Development Committee. Why? Why this approach?
I think I heard you mention initially that Bawumia, and let me also make it clear that these are not Bawumia's committees. Bawumia would have an input as the flag bearer and his own vision. So I expect that the committees in their work would also be mindful of the vision of the flag bearer, because the flag bearer is the flag bearer's vision. So there's going to be a synergy between what the flag bearer wants and what the party wants, and you have to merge the two. So these are not Bawumia's committee. These are the party's committees. You had mentioned that the Bawumia is the party, and Bawumia, of course, is a very key member of the party. It's the party that has put these people together. So it's not necessarily to achieve unity, but these people, aside from the fact that they are leaders in their own right, they are there not as tokens of unity. They are there because they have something fundamental to contribute. They also went out there to sell their messages to the NPP electorate. So they have ideas. Kwabena Dupont is an engineer. So where he is, the sector that he is going to contribute, will be very useful. Yes, it's going to be very useful. Then roads. He's a civil engineer. Kennedy Dupont's ideas that he sold to the NPP electorate on employment generation and all of that were very interesting. So he's there because genuinely he has something to contribute. Educhum on education. I mean, everybody in this country knows the work that Educhum has done or is doing in education. So he's there not as a token for unity, but he's there because he has something to contribute to the formulation of the party's policy, and also Brian Champon. So it's not, they are not there so they will serve as some tokens for unity, but they are senior members of the party who have shown a record of contributing to the party's policies, and that's why they are there. If it gives the optics of unity and engagement and involvement, fine. But they are there primarily because they have something positive to contribute.
Were they asked to choose which committees they want to serve on, or this is the party decision and they were told?
Oh, no. I mean, they are members of the party. I was consulted
before you were put on the committee.
I mean,
and you said you think you'll do best.
Yes, no. I was asked if I would like to chair this committee, and I said yes, I like to chair it. And so I'm sure that consultation or that feedback was gotten from everybody else.
So you're certain that they were consulted before?
And I am also a member of some of the sector committees. For example, with transport. I've worked in transport in the last 7 years. So obviously, if the party is looking for new policies on transportation, I would be useful in that exercise. I'm a member of the transport committee. I'm also a member of the Trade and Industry Committee, because there was a time when I served as chairman for Trade and Industry in Parliament, and I got a lot of experience in the trade policy, industrial policy, and so I'm a member of those committees as well. So people are in those committees not because of tokenism, but it's because of they have a track record in those places.
And they were adequately consulted before these were confirmed?
The teams that were putting up the people, part of their job was to speak to the people that they were going to put up for the membership. I was spoken to, and I expect that everybody else
last week when
spoken
this was confirmed, Kwesi Kwarteng, who speaks for Kennedy Japan, posted a cryptic message on his Facebook wall, which generated a lot of controversy. He says, quote, "That would have been great for our party, but I hope they are all aware." And then he ends to inviting us to read between the lines with ... That was obviously read to mean not everything is well with this particular appointment to chair this committee.
Which appointment?
The appointment, the chairman, his co-chairing of the committee. He was responding. He posted a picture of the confirmation that he is chairing a committee. And he says that would have been great, but I hope they are all aware. And then he says ... And that created controversy. But he subsequently came out to say that, yeah, he hasn't rejected it. But I'm pretty sure you paid attention to that. That told us something, that this, not all is well, even with this constitution of the committee that you gave him.
No. The gentleman that you are, I have not seen his post. But he says he's hoping.
Yeah.
So he's not even giving a definite statement. He says he's hoping. I also heard, what I heard was some news card that Kennedy Agyapong in particular, and the aspirants are about 4. But what I heard was a news card that Kennedy has rejected the appointment. And then there was a news item that no, he hasn't rejected the appointment. So you have all kinds of, but let me tell you this. Anytime such appointments are made, you have people coming up with all kinds of takes on it. My name is not there. I should have been the secretary. I should have been the chairman. I should have been the spokesperson. You know, you get those sentiments, but that shows you that there's a lot of expertise available to the party, and people are willing to be recognized and to work. Even if you did a 50-member committee, I can tell you, some people will still feel left out. You know, so you have these things ordered. I've been in this committee formation for quite a while. You have it all the time. I'm sure in my communications committee, there are people who believe they should be in there. You know, you have to explain to them that there's actually going to be the communications team that will be doing the day-to-day work in communicating the party's policies and programs and so on. And many members of this committee will actually communicate this. An example is myself. An example is Kojo Ponkrum. An example is Miracle Sabuaja. An example is Richard Ahiagba. All of these people, but they are also on the field communicating. So you have to explain to people that there's also going to be the communications team, which will be working up to the communications director. So if you didn't find your name in this committee basically is to advise the National Council. That's why it's a standing committee of the National Council. So you have all kinds of sentiments coming up. But eventually, it will be ironed out. People feel, I should have been the spokesperson. This is my pedigree. And if you look at it and there's merit in what they are saying, and it can be adjusted. Because mind you, when you look at the policy committees, only the leads were put out. So the co-chairman, the 2 co-chairmen, the ranking member in Parliament, and then the other co-chairman, and then the secretary to the committee, and then I think the spokesperson. And now these people are now going to contact those who have been drafted And so it's still in some kind of flux.
Has Dr. Mahmood Bawumia sufficiently reconciled with his challenges in the last primaries? Has he sufficiently reconciled with them?
We have to, of course, he has reached out. He has reached out. He's visited Kennedy at Japan. He asked him for his support.
Did he get it?
After the elections, Bawumia decided that he would need a cooling off period because emotions were still raw from the election results and so on. So he was going to have a 1.5, 2 months cooling off period. And that happened. He himself took time off. Since he's been back, he's visited Kennedy at Japan and in his home, asked him for his support. Kennedy said to him that he's now the leader and he is prepared to serve in whatever way he can to ensure an NPP victory. That was Kennedy. Same with Brian Achampong, same with Educhum, same with Kwabena Japan. Basically to ask for their support. And all of them, these are stalwarts of the party. You know, but you must show them a certain respect by going to them. But they are willing to work for the party. And in fact, I believe they will feel slighted if that approach wasn't made. They will feel disappointed because this is a party they love. This is a party they had sought to lead. And so they are people who love the party. And they'll be disappointed if such an approach was not made to them. Bawumia has done that, met all the 4 of them. I was present in 1 or 2 of those meetings. He's also met people who are not even flag bearer aspirants.
Yeah, he's went to meet Rekubobe, for example. I saw that.
Yes.
What was the thinking behind that?
These are people who, over a period, they felt they were stalwarts of the party who have been sidelined.
Rekubobe in particular, I believe, was suspended at a point, was he not?
So these are, but you will not deny that somebody like Rekubobe was a stalwart of the party.
He was.
Yes.
In fact, many would put him in the category of founding member of the party back in the day.
So I'm not even a founding member. Somebody like Rekubobe is a founding member. These people have gone through struggles to get the party where the party is today. Rekubobe, remember Kumi Prekun, the only civil institution that was able to pull Jerry Rawlings to recall Parliament to change policy. I mean, at the risk of their lives, you know, these gentlemen. They are stalwarts of the Nyahu Tamaklo. It's a stalwart of the party.
Has he visited Nyahu Tamaklo?
Yes. Nyahu was very pleased, you know, because they love the party. All they want is to be engaged. And Bawumia started engaging all of these people. There are a lot more. He visited Kojom Piening, and he's discussed with Kojom Piening a certain role that Kojom Piening will play in the party going forward.
He accepted it?
Oh, absolutely.
What role is that?
Let the official announcement come out. Kojom Piening visited, I'm saying Kojom Piening, Kwame Piening, my uncle, visited Kwame Piening. Kwame Piening was very happy.
So he went to Kojo Piening, who is a former chief of staff under Akufo, and then he went to Kwame, who is the economist and former head of PULC. Yeah. Okay, I clarify because people listening would even me sometimes I confuse
but people know this. Yeah. These are people involved in the party, and he's going to do more of those. Okay. Yes, and
so he's offered both positions in roles.
Yes,
in the campaign or in the party. Which is which?
Both. He's discussed roles that they can play.
Okay. Yes, and both of them accepted?
Oh, they are very happy.
What about Nyahu Tamaklo? Because he's been possibly one of the most visible critics of this current manifestation of the NPP. He doesn't like it, doesn't see the founding spirit and values, and he's outspoken on that subject.
So as part of a reconciliation, it shouldn't be limited to just flag bearer aspirants. It should be extended to all of these former stalwarts who love the party and who have felt alienated by the party in one way or the other in the past, in the recent past, and they are willing to come. And
who's willing to take back his
absolutely. You see,
blue, white, and red?
Very, very happy at the engagement. Very, very happy.
He will cease
you didn't
fire.
see the pictures he put out?
He will cease fire in the public domain when it comes to the parties.
No. We would like him to
criticism.
To be constructively engaged. But of course, no party will be happy when a stalwart of the party is talking about the party from outside. So
you think you brought him back into the fold now?
Oh, absolutely. I think
so. He's back now from the cold.
I believe so. And
you're not certain.
Sorry,
I didn't hear certain today.
But we have to wait and see. But the approach has been made, because that's the question you ask. The approach has been made, and the positive sentiments have been expressed. Now let's see how those positive sentiments translate into work. So that is when we'll see. But the approach has been made. The positive sentiments have been expressed. Let's see how it rolls out.
How far is Bawumia willing to go to bring back those alienated into the fold? And I asked that because of one specific name, Alan Chamanting. Is he going as far as reaching out to him too?
It should be on the cards. If I'm one of his advisors, if he asks me, I would say yes. No, because Evans, this work that you are doing as a political party, you are targeting even the NDC. You want to win over NDC supporters. You want to win over neutrals, isn't it? You want to win neutrals over to your side. You want to win NDC members to your side. How about your own member who, because of some events in the past, has stepped out? So these are your natural constituencies. Because you even want to win over the NDC. You want to win over neutrals, people who are not in your party. But so it's all in order.
In any case, in our historical history in the Fourth Republic, there's precedent for that. NDC lost a lot of stalwarts from their own parties. The former Attorney General left from his own party, and they brought them all back.
Even the former chairman
of the party, yes, left. I mean, we're in Parliament, and they have Bidzidin, who who's the General Secretary, left and is come back. Yeah. That is what you're arguing. That's your argument.
No, but that is what it should be. That is what it should be. And basically, these people left because of some hurt feelings or misunderstanding. With the passage of time, you can bring them back because they're already in the party.
Is the time right, though?
Absolutely.
To bring Alan Chamanting back.
That is one of the David Alan Chamanting specifically.
Yes.
Everybody.
Okay.
And if Bawumia asks me, I would agree that Alan Chamanting be approached. And if he's approached and he wants to come back, all the better for the party, isn't it? You would agree.
You are around Bawumia a lot. When you look at him, you think this is something he will do?
He hasn't discussed it with me. But if he discusses it with me as part of his inner circle, I would advise for it. Because like I said to you, you even want to engage the NDC, who don't have any natural love for your party.
You think
but you want to engage them.
You think there's appetite? Because this is obviously won't be a Bawumia decision alone. And I remember you when we started, you said the party is a party decision that he's obviously part of. Yeah. You think there's appetite within your ranks to bring him and the likes who left back?
Unless there is some specific, definitely he would speak to not just his inner circle. He would speak to the party leadership as well. And there's no debate as to reaching out to your flag bearer aspirants. There's no debate as to some of these people who have felt, stalwarts who have felt alienated. There's no debate about. But if some people feel that for this particular person or this group of persons, let's pause, they will have to advance arguments to support. And I haven't seen or heard Alan Chamanting, for example, speak directly against a Bawumia flag bearership or even the party. He thought that the man contested in the last elections, the last 2 presidential primaries.
Yes.
And he lost. And he was disappointed with the loss and decided to pull out. So, and after pulling out, he went through elections. He's seen the results. And time has elapsed since that time. So, certainly if an approach is made to him, because he's also a stalwart of the party, you would agree. Otherwise, we would not be talking about him. If an approach is made to him, I would support it. And if he comes back, all the better for the party. When he went on his own, he didn't get much, did he?
Obviously.
Yes. So
the facts show that.
Yeah. So all of this.
So I hear you say that approach, you support that approach being initiated by Bawumia and not, they are not waiting for him to make the initiation, to initiate that approach.
Waiting for who?
In terms of the approach to reconcile with Alan.
All of these stalwarts.
All this. So Bawumia of Alan is, I guess, he quit the party.
Yeah.
So and from his own. You say you prefer that Bawumia initiates the contact with him.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Bawumia is the flag bearer now.
Yeah.
He is the center of the party.
Yeah.
He is the one whose face will be on the ballot box. He is the one we are selling to the Ghanaian people. So he must, I mean, if you're going out to canvass the regular Ghanaian, shouldn't you start with your own party members, even those who have been aggrieved, you know? And the timing is right. Those of them who left, like Alan, it didn't augur well for him. So he may feel that it's better for me to be within the fold of my party. And when an approach is made to him, it makes it easier for him to come back. And I will support that approach.
Yeah. My guest is Akomea. He heads a communications committee that was set up recently. He's played a very important role in the Bawumia's campaign for 2024 as well. I'm going to take a quick break. When I return, we'll talk about 2 main things. We'll wrap up on the party, its reorganization. Currently, they are going through elections. But Bawumia's own chances going into the 2028 elections. I'll pick his thoughts about that. And then we'll talk about his assessment of the current government. Because for the NPP to win 2028, it must be done not only based on their own strength, but by the strength of the performance of the current government. He knows that. I'll ask him his thoughts on the current government, its performance so far, and what the projections are until 2028, and whether he thinks he stands a chance if you're looking at this current government performance. Stay with me. And thank you for staying with us on PM Express. My guest is Akomea. He is the chief spokesperson, if you like, of the entire NPP machinery. He's a big man, indeed. And as he's explained to us, even the elected communications director may have to answer through his committee to the National Council. Nana, you're a big man indeed. But let's come to the party's reorganization. You're currently electing branch executives, if I'm not mistaken, correct? Yes. And then that then sort of cascades until you get to the national executives. How is that going?
It should go well.
I like your caution in the should.
Well, yes, it should go well. We realize at a point that the problems that we've had with grassroots elections in the NPP is that what is on paper, it doesn't reflect on the ground. So there have been many cases that you are aware, it plays out on your shows, where people are taking the party to court because they feel guidelines were not adhered to. In some cases, you have a list of grassroots people. The chairman of the constituency has a list. The member of parliament has a list. And so all of this play out because the guidelines are not adhered to the letter on the ground. People are supposed to be elected at the polling station. So if you take my constituency, Okankwe South, just across the street, there are about 1,200 polling station executives. And the polling station executives are at the basic level of the party. So every polling station, there are about maybe 750 people, and out of those 750, 800 people on the average, 5 of them are NPP representatives at that polling station. So it's the basic level of the party. They are supposed to be elected. That's what the rules provide. But in reality, it hasn't been very successful organizing the elections. One of the main problems was that you would not find an electoral list of the NPP at the polling station level. So the elections largely become selections. So you'd have somebody and the son is in there and the wife is in there, or the husband is in there, or the brother is in there. In one polling station, several. If you come to my constituency, you have one person, because there's no electoral list. So we've tried to generate an electoral list for every polling station. So if you remember, there was a window for registration at the polling station levels. That was the purpose of that, to generate some kind of electoral list, even if it's 150 members of the party in that electoral area, so that becomes the basis to conduct elections at the polling station. But when there's no list, then the process becomes a selection. There are many cases where people are supposed to be polling station executives of the NPP. They don't even live there. Sometimes they don't even live in the constituency. But they manage to find their names there because some interested party has put there. We want to minimize that and do away with it. So there has been some limited registration that has been done. And so that paves the way for polling station elections to be done. Even in the compilation of the list, we hear, as usual, the human element. We hear people wanted forms and the forms were not available. Because some chairman of the polling station wants the people on the list to be people he knows. Because these people are going to vote for and the chairman, so you
the
go
constituency,
for the polling station elections. He's the chairman of the polling station.
Oh, okay, and he wants his people on the
he wants people he knows.
Okay.
So if Evans Mensah comes and say, I'm a member of this St. Nicholas polling station, and he doesn't know Evans Mensah, he's like, who will he vote for? And so in some cases, he puts difficulties in your way. And he's giving the forms to his or her friends and so on. So you still have these instances. But at least we are hoping that by now, there's a list of 100, 150 people at the polling station who will be the NPP members in one book across all the 40,000 polling stations. And so elections now will go on properly. And when that happens, then that basic level will then go on to elect constituency executives. Now, once you've got the difficulty is at the basic level because of the numbers. I mean, there are 1,200 in my constituency. Those 1,200 will then go on to elect 17 executives. And those 17 executives will then go on to elect regional and so on. The difficulties at the basic level. If we get it right, going up will be easier because the numbers are smaller. 17 executives. How many people will pick forms? Maybe 50 people. Then to region and all of that. And I'm hoping that it all goes well. I am very happy that an electoral roll or a list of NPP members in each polling station is now available. So there'll be no excuse not to conduct the elections.
Yeah, and so eventually by the end of this year, you also would have finished that reorganization.
We're hoping that by end of September, we would have gone through up to the national level. So the main difficulty is the polling station. And then the polling station rears its head again with the parliamentary, because the parliamentary too has to involve the polling station. So, but once we get it right, and there's an ironclad list at the polling station who have elected polling station executives, 5, this time is 7, the elections should go well for us right up to national and then to parliamentary. Yeah. There are a lot of orphan, about 180 constituencies.
I've heard suggestions from your ranks that you also want to have the primaries for the orphan constituencies super early.
Yes.
Is that on the cards?
Yes, it's also on the cards.
What is there a time frame for this?
When the new executives come, they will then set a date for their, because we want to finish with this. The parliamentary elections, the elections for parliamentary candidates, same as the elections for the flag bearer. There's no set time. For example, the polling stations have a 4-year mandate. And once those 4 years come, you are automatically out of office. You must organize polling station elections, except if the National Council decides to extend the tenure. And I believe with this, the tenure was supposed to finish in March. And I believe because of the registration exercise to get the polling, the electoral college at the polling stations, the tenure of the polling stations was extended by the National Council. But the Constitution provides that once you start with the elections, there's only a 4-week window. So once you finish the polling station, within 4 weeks, you must conduct the constituency. And once you finish the constituency, within 4 weeks. So those are time bound. But with the flag bearer, there's a window of 2 years.
Yeah.
And the National Council can fix any date within those 2 years, same as the parliamentary. So the idea is that finish with these executive positions. And I mind you, many of these executives will still be retained anyway. But let them finish, and then they can fix a time for the orphan constituencies to have parliamentary candidates.
So ideally, I see you, because if you're finishing this by September, you have the last quarter of this year and maybe the first quarter of 2027 to wrap that up.
Yeah.
And that will be, again,
for the orphan constituencies.
Yeah. If all this goes according to plan, then you have everything in place to now focus exclusively on 2028. Yeah. And it's going to be Bawumia against somebody, we don't know yet, from the NDC. But recent polling by Global Info Analytics suggests that if you're doing 2028, Bawumia comes up short against almost all the rumored interested candidates from the NDC. So the recent polling from Global Info says that Akufo-Addo will beat him by 55%, and he will have 37. Haruna will beat him with 40.
When was this polling? When was it?
This is last week.
Last week?
Yeah, last week.
Okay.
Professor Jane will have 51%. He will have 39. Asiru Nketiah will have 51. He will have 39. Does this concern you? Worried about this?
No, it doesn't worry us at all. We expect it because of the timing. The NPP now has to work its way up after that kind of loss that we suffered. It's going to take some time for the government to become unpopular. It's already started. All this soul sourcing business that they talked against. I'm sure we'll talk about the government performance, but all these Bank of Ghana losses that they are trying to hide, the promises they made that are not being fulfilled, the major plank of 24-hour economy 133, Obia BDD, that they've totally forgotten about, and all of that. So gradually the goodwill will fade. So once the goodwill is there, we expect that people would prefer the NDC at a certain point in time. But gradually to fade as Bawumia gets his act together.
The goodwill will fade.
Certainly.
And that is based on what?
The performance and delivery. They promised the youth of this country jobs.
But it also depends, and I'll come to their performance broadly, you assess that. But it also depends on your own ability to get your organization right. Right now, you've done one thing, which is elect him, Bawumia. Secondly is to, try and now begin the reconciliation process. The structural reorganization is just beginning at the polling station level. There's a lot you don't know yet, and a lot can still go wrong for you. So before we come to the assessment, you have to get it right to fair before you can climb, as you said.
That's what we are doing. So in this period of getting it right, we expect that polls will favor the NDC. And I was asking you when the poll was done. Yeah. You said last week, yeah. Which is May. Yeah. How many months before the elections?
You definitely have more than 2.5.
And in politics, even 1 week is a very long time. So I would not be happy if I were the NDC at polling done 2.5 years before the elections. Yeah, because so I don't even see the usefulness of that poll because it's so far before the event. And polling, the closer it is to the event, the more accurate it is.
Do you reckon that because for the first time in 16 years, the NDC, who have a different face on the ballot, will play to your advantage?
It will play big time to our advantage.
How exactly?
Because now they are bringing a new candidate. In all the times when a party has won a second term, they were presenting a president who has sold himself to the Ghanaian people for 4 years. This will be the first time that a party, the NDC, will be looking for a second term in office with a new candidate. It's never happened in the Fourth Republic.
When Mills died. When Mills died.
Yeah, when Mills died. John Mahama was acting president. He had acted as president
for 6 months. July to the end of the year. But fundamentally, they changed the face of the candidate for that elections, and they won.
No. Mahama had been president for 6 months, from June. Or was it July?
It was.
Yes, and so, taking advantage of...
It was the first time his face was on the ballot. First time.
Yes, but he was sitting president. I'm saying to you that every time a party has gotten a second term, they go in with an incumbent president. Mahama in 2012 was an incumbent president. You even forget about the vice president that is. He was an incumbent president. He had been president for 6 months. But this 2028 will be the first time that a ruling party is looking for a second term of a totally new person. It will play to our advantage.
But history also shows us that Ghanaians always give the party 8 years. The party, not necessarily the candidate. Because if you remember in 2012, in fact, in 2016, John Mahama's argument was trying to get us to appreciate the difference. That, I've just done 1 term. So give me another term so I can do 8 years. Ghanaians rejected that and said, well, the party, we're giving you 8 years.
You said...
And so necessarily, and they kicked him out.
You said...
So if that's the case...
You said Ghanaians normally will give...
A party.
8 years.
8 years.
You would agree that 8 years is not the only factor. And also that it is not automatic.
Well, since 1992, they've always given the political party.
But you would agree that the factor that gives the 8 years is not the number of years. It's not just because it's 4 years or it's 8 years.
Because?
Otherwise, the incumbent party will not campaign.
No, but
so
the history says...
What I'm saying to you is very simple.
They will give them...
No, listen, what I'm saying to you is very simple. There are so many factors. The primary factor, and it comes up election after election, is the performance of the government. John Mahama's performance between 2013 and 2016, you would agree that really nothing went right for him. the country was bedeviled by Dumsor for 4 years, throughout the term. Throughout the term, was bedeviled by Dumsor. The economy was in tatters. 2014, you remember, when we're so short of forex that they came in with a directive that you can't even go and take your own dollars from the bank and so on. And so the economy was in tatters. And Dumsor, and of course, if you didn't have electricity, the economy was going to go down. You know, and it was the first time in Ghana's history that you had. So it's not just the number of years. A lot of factors play. And when you look at the factors that comes out of research, you realize that the performance of the incumbent government is key.
But that
so like you said, we have to check out
that performance has always been a factor. In the years when the parties were crossing over from first term to second term. Always been. And Ghanaians, in spite of the performance, have still given the incumbent party another term. In fact, your own example is the most classic one. In 2020, going into the second term of Akufo-Addo, they punished you in Parliament, that delivered the hung Parliament, and yet still gave you the presidency.
Every incumbent government loses vote in the second.
Absolutely.
Second term, yes.
But they still go ahead and win.
Yes, it loses vote in the second
which is what you're up against in 2028.
Let me tell you something very simple. I agree with your take that the it's been 8 years. But you would agree that you cannot get election results on one factor.
That's true.
Yes. So, like I'm saying, the fact that there's a new face will be a factor. Because that new face now has to be sold. The personality, the branding. You know, because Ghanaians also, I mean, those of us in politics, we've been in the public eye, like you in the media, you've also been in the public eye. There's an evaluation of you. So if there's an opportunity for Evans Mensah to stand for elections, the brand you've built up over the period will play a lot. You understand? So there are so many things that
Bawumia has built up a brand good enough to withstand anything the NDP
he has another 2.5 years to cement his brand. So it will be a factor. The NDC, and mind you, they are going to choose their flag bearer in the election year. And if the contest becomes a hotly contested one, if I suspect John Mahama would prefer the vice president.
Yes. Why?
Oh,
what makes you say
that? You get feelers on the ground. I suspect John Mahama would prefer the vice president and Haruna to run. This is the ticket I believe John Mahama will support.
But I just want to know why. What's your reading? What's your analysis that makes you feel John Mahama will go?
Unfortunately, I love you very much, but I can't give you my trade secret. But look at this pointer. Musa Dankwa that you quoted, he did some polling about potential flag bearers of the NDC.
Yeah.
He didn't include the vice president.
Subsequently, he has to.
At that time, the vice president was not well.
Yes.
He didn't include the vice president. In that poll that he did, Haruna Idrisu, my friend, came up tops. You know his comments on the poll that said he was tops. You know what he said?
What did he say?
He said he would prefer the vice president.
John
Mahama himself has said
publicly that, also said it's just a matter of time before we have a female president.
And there are other things that I won't tell you.
So you're reading between the lines.
Oh, I'm saying to you now, of course, like I said, a week is too long. I mean, it's a long time. But what I suspect is that John Mahama himself will prefer the vice president and Haruna. But you see, but I haven't finished. Yeah, well. But the party, I see Edun Ketia.
Another good friend of yours.
Another good friend of mine. I know that Edun Ketia is determined to put his hat in the ring. And they look at the woman, the vice president, as relatively new. And you know, these people, they believe they've suffered, you know, the general secretary, Kwete, another friend of mine. Every opportunity that he gets, he talks about people who have come from nowhere and think they can sway their way around. You've heard him make those comments, or you haven't?
I don't recall hearing.
Oh, you know, he talks about the party is not going to stand for people who just come and, you know, and they keep making those statements. And I believe that between Asiedu Nketia and the party, they're going to put up. I met Asiedu Nketia recently at a function, and I said, I said to him, "Are you representing the president?" He said, "Yes, he's representing the president." And I said, "Oh, then he's endorsed you." He couldn't respond. So I'm saying to you that they are going to have quite a turbulent flag bearer race that would weaken the party in an election year, because when you have the incumbent president, you can't do a flag bearer 2 years before the elections. You can only do it as close to the election as possible. So you are looking at the first quarter of 2028 for them to do, and the forces that are aligned, it's going to be a turbulent exercise that will further weaken their party.
So you're going to exploit that.
We'll be very happy to exploit that.
To your advantage.
Yes, we'll be very happy to exploit that. So all those factors will come into play in 2028.
So already in your planning, you're factoring in how to take advantage of the internal fight within the NDC that's about to ensue to replace John Mahama.
Yeah, you will do that if you wear our shoes. Which party do you support?
You're not even pretending about the fact that you're going to exploit it. So you've made a strategy out of exploiting NDC's internal struggles to replace John Mahama.
Well, we are not going to ask them to go through a struggle. They are going to go through a struggle. We see the way the forces are aligned. If they are able to have a consensus and they are able to agree that all of us will go behind this person, whether it's Asiedu Nketia or whether it's the vice president or whoever. But we don't think they are...
But the struggles of your opponent can be a strategy for the NPP.
Elections don't depend on one single factor. So the struggles of your opponent is a factor. If they're going to tear themselves apart, it plays to your advantage.
Will you fuel it?
In what way?
I'm asking you. You said you were exploiting it. How?
No, it's going to happen, and we're going to take advantage. We are not going. I don't think they will allow us to fuel it. They are going to do it themselves, and we will take advantage. That's all.
Now, to do that though, and to do successfully, you must overcome their performance. If you look right now at where the economy is, economy has largely stabilized, as seen through the rate of inflation, single digit, for ones we've had for a long, long time. You have CD strengthened and stabilized. You have record reserves, 13 billion, which we've never had. It's record. You go to the market now and they tell you that prices are not fluctuating as rapidly and as unpredictably as it did just before you left office. That is what you're up against. IMF is talking to us, talking about the stability, and that we've achieved it way ahead of schedule. That is the NDC's record in government with almost 1.5 years to go. That must send shivers down your spine.
Nobody, no electorate, eats stability. No electorate eats inflation. It is good to achieve stability in the macro economy. It is good to achieve low inflation figures. It is not the same as cost of living. Forex stability is not the same. Look at the current situation. Inflation is supposed to be 4%. Take any item that the ordinary person uses. Track the price and see whether it's 3 or 4%. I was giving this example to a colleague of yours recently. I use sunlight soap to wash my clothing that are not white. For white, I use a powder. For the clothing like this one, if I have to wash it, I use sunlight soap. It used to be 5 cedis. I'm not buying it from the filling station shops, just the people selling on the streets. 5 cedis. Last 2 weeks, it's gone up to 7 cedis. From 5 to 7. Sunlight soap. What percentage is that? More than 30%. Today, there's a big fight over hostel rent. Big fight. And Nooks is up in arms. Hostel rent. Electricity, which everybody uses. You use electricity. Huge here. Look at the cost, the rise in electricity over the last 1 year. Look at the cost in water. Look at the cost in transport. 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, VIP, the biggest private intercity transporter, they announced a 20% increase in fares from 120 cedis to 150. Chart the price of anything that a common man uses. Rent in Teshi for a chamber, one, what do they call it? Self-contained, yeah, 1 room. My driver lives in Teshi. From 1,000 cedis, 2026 has gone up 1,200 in Teshi. Rent. Just track the price of anything. Once electricity goes up, look, this forest that you are talking about, it's good that the dollar's value has come down a bit, and it seems to be stable.
It seems to be stable.
What is the impact? Because for you and me, is the effect on our life. One second. For you and me, the stable dollar, the effect is what we are looking at, not the mere fact that it's stable. What is the effect? This is an import-dependent economy. This room that we are, I'm sure 180% of the things in this room are imported. Through the ports, there's a new system they've brought. It has increased port charges in some cases by 100%. It's going to feed into prices because the importers are not going to say inflation is 3, so we are going to increase by 3. They're going to increase per the duties they are paying at if the duties have gone up by 100% and 50%, it's going to feed into prices of everything.
But here's the effect. Here's the effect on the Akomea. In 2024, before you left office, there was a time that when you go to the filling station, you bought petrol at 17 cedis plus a litre. Today, it's around 13 cedis a litre.
For diesel?
I'm talking about petrol, not diesel.
But it's diesel that runs the economy.
It's diesel. I'm talking about petrol. I'm talking about the overwhelming majority of us.
Okay, so what's the point?
I'm saying that is more money in the Akomea's pocket if you use petrol. That this government's policies of stabilizing the city, because the currency exchange rate is a major factor in the cost of fuel. There's more money in your pocket. There's more money in the pocket of the market woman who's cutting food from the village to the center.
Okay,
you don't disagree.
Let me hold you there.
You don't disagree that the Akomea is paying less today because of Akufo-Addo's policy that is put in place.
The instance of petrol reducing by a cedi or 2 cedis.
Not cedi or 2 cedis.
Okay.
17 to 30.
So 4 cedis. Okay. The instance of petrol price reducing by 3 or 4 cedis will benefit you and I who have our own vehicles.
That's not true. It's the reason why, for the first time in a long time, GPLTU last year announced a 15% reduction in fares. That affects my mother in the village.
But you agree,
the Mokola woman.
You agree that
truck driver.
You agree that as we sit today, GPRTU is in agitation with the government to increase fares.
No, they haven't increased fares.
No, they are agitating.
But that's not, that's different.
And in any case,
they haven't done it because they appreciate the stability.
No, they haven't done it because they haven't come to an agreement. Just 2-3 weeks ago, they were agitating all over the reality
is let
me also tell you, I gave you VIP, which is the largest transporter. They've increased fares from 120 to 150.
Not VIP.
They are the largest.
It's called
transporter.
VIP for a reason.
Now, but they are the largest carrier. It's far larger than VIP.
Small minority of Ghanaians who can access that service.
The transport, the diesel, is what carries the economic goods. The food that you are talking about is diesel. The change in diesel is not that much. But you see, beyond that, how about electricity? Because if the average is 3.5, they should be 3.5. But you are having electricity way through the roof. You're having water way through the roof.
I know that you haven't answered the question about the savings to your pocket on petrol.
I've said so. I'm saying if
you admit that you save money.
I'm saying if that's the case, it benefits me, the car owner.
Yeah.
How many of us own cars in this country?
But it benefits the Mokola market woman also.
In what way?
Because when he puts his goods in that vehicle to transport.
How about the extra that she's paying on sunlight? How about the extra that she's paying on rent? How about the extra that she's paying on hostel fees? How about the extra that she's paying on electricity?
Yeah, but
which are all going through the roof. Now, today, when you go to the market, and I saw a documentary, I don't know if this media house produced it, with market women lamenting that sales are down. There's no money in the pocket. I think it's a documentary done by, because I still have it on my phone. Now, when people complain there's no money in their pockets, there's no money to buy stuff, and traders are weeping in the markets and so on, it just means that the cost of living is very high.
The cost of living
is very high.
How is the cost of living high?
That's why there's no money, because people are not buying.
And by the way, that's why the Bank of Ghana explains that the losses that NPP has been trumpeting is the cost of stability, which you acknowledge.
The Bank of Ghana, the cost of stability in inflation, in forex.
Yes.
But I've just told you that the forex, the impact, is largely determined by port duties. Because we are a big import-dependent economy. So when you've achieved stability in the dollar, but port charges have gone up by 100%. It is that 100% that translates into your pocket and my pocket, not the stability of the dollar. Because the port person, after paying 100%, will pass it on to you.
But that's an
isolated.
No,
look into this, your office. 80% of the stuff here is imported.
I'm talking about the 100% you're referencing because of the Pelican AI. It's an isolated case where you find a few cases where it's gone up, but that means you're paying the rights duty that helps our revenue mobilization efforts.
For me, when prices go up 50%, it's coming to my pocket. Whether it's the right duty or not, it's hitting my pocket directly. And that's what I look at, that's what I feel, and that's what helps my decisions. So, yes, the value of the dollar has come down, and it seems to be stable, and inflation is a single digit and so on. But what influences the ordinary person is the impact.
And those you mentioned justifies the losses at the BOG, does it not?
You see, in the first thing, they are not even admitting to the extent of the losses. For the operations to get this inflation and the stability in the dollar, they said they spent 15.63 billion. But what is the impact? The ordinary person who's going to pay for these losses, he still has prices rising by 20% and so on. Transport, school fees, hostel, electricity, rent, and all of that. Soap, ordinary things. He's still paying more than this 3%. So he's not benefiting. The forex, they are largely determined, the port duties is what determine prices, not the dollar rate. So when you've stabilized the dollar, spent all this money, 15.6 billion, to stabilize the dollar, and for me, the poor, the average person to get an impact, but port duties have gone up by 50 to 100%. That is what I'm going to pay. So the impact is limited. You see, then also, you look at this amounts of money that they have lost. It's around about 44 billion because they lost 15.63 on the operations for inflation and currency and so on. Inflation. They lost about the open market operations. They said they lost about 15.63. They also lost 19 point something on the forest operations. They are saying that one we shouldn't count it as lost, but it's just valuation. But I can quote to you the governor himself talking about the significance of those losses 2 years ago. Today they are saying that, oh, those losses
2 years ago, but they won't be in government 2 years ago.
Sorry?
You mean last year?
2 years ago, 2024.
This governor. When he was in opposition. I mean,
Listen to what he said.
You mean Esiama?
Esiama. When we're talking about same government of Bank of Ghana losses, this is what Esiama said. But what they are doing now, one of the problems, and which is a line item, when you look into the Bank of Ghana financial statements, you know, there's something they have there called exchange losses. You know, it's contributing to the losses they are making. So there's no efficiency. You know, so where they said we are increasing gold reserves or whatever, how about the huge exchange losses that would affect liquidity management that they are incurring? Our point is that they are not being efficient. So when today they seek to tell us that exchange losses, which is the other comprehensive income, is basically about the strength of the dollar. When they are telling us, oh, that one shouldn't be losses. But when you've said that those losses are significant and should be counted. But let's put that aside, the hypocrisy of the NDC. I'm saying these losses, 15.63 to manage inflation, another 19 to manage the forex. That comes to 35 billion. They say that, oh, that's for the forest one excluded because it's losses because of forex. But in another period, they said that those losses are significant. If you added those losses, and then they had to sell gold, half our gold reserves, to even come to that 35. They got 9-point-something billion. If the gold wasn't there, the losses would have gone to 44. But even if you take one of those three categories of losses, if you take just the open market one to control inflation, the 15.6 billion, that's about over $1 billion, isn't it? Now, the whole point of all these losses is to get inflation low and to stabilize the exchange rate. Why is the exchange rate not stable? Because of demand. And why is the demand so high? Because we are an import-dependent economy. So, to be able to do a sustained effort to get the demand for the dollar down, you need to focus on producing the things that we demand dollar to import.
You can do that in a year.
Now, no, listen. This 15 billion that you've lost is about $1 billion. How much more do you need to produce sugar in this country? We import sugar 100 million a year. We spend 30 million to do this thing at Commander. We say we need another 20 million to develop the outgrower. Because we haven't developed the outgrower, that 30 million to do the factory is sitting down idle. You spent over 1 billion, 1 billion, just to meet demand, throwing money into it to meet demand. I don't see any record of spending 20 billion to develop the outgrower for the Commander Sugar Factory, so that we'll be saving $100 million a year. Tomato. Ghana is the second biggest importer of tomato, canned tomato in Africa. Millions of dollars are being demanded to import tomato. So if you have $1 billion, why don't you use some to support private people to set up canned tomato production in this country? Chicken. The amount of chicken we import, more than $200 million a year. The amount of rice that we import. These are the things that is driving the demand for the dollar. Instead of selling gold to put dollars into the system to the tune of over $1 billion. Because this 15.6 is over, even using the dollar at 12.
I mean, as we wrap up, the evidence will suggest that the government is doing both. They spend the money to stabilize the city. Inflation is low. Reserves are record high. But they're also spending money on tomato local production. Paul Lugo, they're going to put money in to get it working. You talked about rice imports. We talked about sugar.
What money are they going to put in?
It was in the budget, something that they had their budget in for to fix that. So government is doing both at the same time. It's not as if they have to do one and leave the other.
Let's hope that what you're saying is true and that is what they will do. Let's hope.
Okay.
But if they haven't thought about it, I'm saying to you that that's a more sustainable way of holding the dollar down than selling gold and throwing it into the market. And you know, this government is really an azar government, because the things that they told Ghanaians they would do, they are doing the opposite. This Bank of Ghana thing, when the Bank of Ghana was losing money to stabilize the system, and mind you, during the debt exchange, the haircut time, the Bank of Ghana suffered huge losses because of that haircut. Inflation in the period after 2022 was brought down from 54 to 23. That's a lot of work the Bank of Ghana was doing. The value of the dollar was brought from 17 to a 14 point something. That was a lot of work the Bank of Ghana was doing. When the losses were coming, the NDC, I've just quoted to you what the governor said.
You've made the point about, you've made the
but
point.
Now there are losses.
Okay.
So the things they promised Ghanaians, Galamsey, what they promised Ghanaians, they said they will do, the president has the power to stop it in 1 week. They said they should do state of emergency. They are doing the opposite. The employment, they said there's something called 24-hour, and it's going to be 133. Obia Abedi, John Mahama, the president, had a clock and was showing us what 24 hours is. Nothing. Even things like doctorate degrees, when Akufo-Addo had 1 or 2 doctorate degrees, they told Akufo-Addo that you are president and you are collecting degrees. You know, wait, leave the presidency and let there be an evaluation. John Mahama is president, he's collecting degrees, doctorate degrees. What they said about literally everything.
No, Akomea.
They are going against. So let me tell you, this government, for the record today, they are turning out to be an azar government.
So that's your conclusion.
They have a slogan called Eyezu Eyeza. Very soon it's going to become Eyezu Eyazan.
Thank you very much, Akomea.
Thank you, Evans.
Enjoy the rest of your evening.
We'll do it again.